Have you ever lost control of your anger and immediately regretted it later? Anger is one of the most common human emotions, yet it can quietly destroy your health, your relationships, and even your career if left unchecked. In this video, you'll not only practice your English listening skills, but also discover 10 practical steps to master anger and reclaim lasting inner peace. To understand how to control anger, we first need to understand why it controls us. From a psychological perspective, anger is not random. It is a natural survival response hardwired into the human brain. When something threatens or frustrates us, the amygdala, the brain's emotional alarm system, takes over. This is called an amygdala hijack. In those moments, logic and rational thinking from the prefrontal cortex are bypassed, and we react with impulsive anger. The real problem is not that anger exists. It is that most of us don't recognize what is happening inside our brains. We think, that person made me angry, or they forced me to react this way. But the truth is, no one can directly put anger inside you. They can only trigger something. The way you interpret the situation, the story you tell yourself, and the reaction you choose. That is where anger grows or disappears. This misunderstanding creates a dangerous illusion. If you believe other people are responsible for your anger, you also believe you are powerless to change it. And when you feel powerless, you repeat the same cycle. Someone says something rude, you explode, and afterward you feel regret. Over time, anger becomes less about the situation and more about habit. Think about daily stress, tight deadlines at work, constant notifications from your phone, or family arguments at home. Each of these creates pressure in your nervous system. Under pressure, your brain is like a glass already filled with water. Just one more drop, and it overflows. That's why small triggers, like someone cutting you off in traffic or a colleague making a careless comment, can set off a big reaction. It's not the trigger itself. It's the accumulated stress you've been carrying all along. Here lies the key insight. Anger controls us not because it is stronger than us, but because we fail to understand its roots. Without awareness, we are like passengers in a car, with anger driving recklessly. But the moment you realize anger is your choice, not your destiny, you can move into the driver's seat. The message is clear. Until you understand the true source of anger, it will always control you. Once you see it for what it is, a reaction you can pause, reshape, and choose differently, you begin to regain power. The first breakthrough in mastering anger begins with one powerful realization. Anger is your choice. At first, this statement feels strange. People often insist, I had no choice, they made me angry. But if you examine closely, you will see that the trigger is not the cause. The trigger only presents an invitation. Your reaction is the acceptance. Imagine two people experiencing the same situation. A colleague makes a sarcastic comment in a meeting. Person A slams the table, raises their voice, and leaves the room furious. Person B, however, takes a deep breath, smiles politely, and responds calmly. The situation was identical, but the outcomes were worlds apart. Why? Because anger was not created by the comment itself. It was created by the reaction. This is the turning point. Realizing that between stimulus and response, there's a gap. In that gap lies your power. If you immediately react, you hand control to the amygdala and let your emotions drive. But if you pause, even for a few seconds, you allow the rational brain to re-enter the scene. You can then choose whether the situation truly deserves anger, or whether another response would serve you better. At its core, this idea removes the illusion of victimhood. As long as you believe anger is imposed on you, you remain powerless. But the moment you accept responsibility, I chose this reaction, you regain control. Responsibility may feel heavy at first, because it means you can no longer blame others. Yet it is also incredibly liberating, because it means no one can control you without your permission. This shift in perspective transforms the way you approach daily life. Instead of saying, my boss made me mad, you begin to say, I allowed myself to get mad at my boss's words. Instead of saying, traffic ruined my mood, you say, I chose to let traffic influence my emotions. The words you use reflect the power you reclaim. The lesson is clear. Controlling anger does not start with changing the world. It starts with changing your perspective. Once you recognize anger as a choice, you can stop being a prisoner of your emotions and start being the master of them. This single insight becomes the foundation for every practical step that follows. Learning that anger is a choice is only the beginning. To truly master it, you need practical steps you can apply every day. These 10 strategies are not abstract theories. They are tools you can pick up and use immediately. 1. Pause before you react. The most powerful weapon against anger is the pause. When someone insults you or a situation frustrates you, your instinct is to fire back instantly. Instead, take one deep breath. Count slowly to 5. This short pause creates space between trigger and reaction. For example, when traffic cuts you off, rather than honking furiously, you pause and remind yourself, this moment will pass. The pause turns an impulsive reaction into a thoughtful response. 2. Don't take things personally. Many angry outbursts come from assuming that people's words or actions are direct attacks. In truth, most behavior reflects their own struggles, not yours. A rude colleague may simply be stressed about their own workload. A stranger's harsh words may come from their insecurity. By reminding yourself, this is about them, not me, you release unnecessary anger. 3. Practice letting go. Holding on to anger is like carrying a heavy backpack everywhere you go. It drains your energy and poisons your thoughts. Letting go is not about ignoring injustice. It is about freeing yourself. If someone wronged you last year, ask, why let their actions continue to hurt you today? Forgiveness is less about them and more about giving yourself peace. 4. Build emotional awareness. Anger is often a mask. Beneath it may be hurt, fear, or disappointment. For example, you might explode at your partner for being late, but underneath, you feel unimportant. By asking yourself, what am I really feeling? You uncover the truth. Emotional awareness transforms anger into understanding and compassion for yourself and others. 5. Set clear boundaries. Sometimes anger is a signal that your boundaries are being crossed. If you constantly say yes when you want to say no, frustration builds until it bursts. Healthy boundaries prevent this. Whether it's limiting work calls after hours or speaking up when someone disrespects you, boundaries protect your emotional energy and reduce unnecessary anger. 6. Focus on solutions, not problems. Anger often thrives when attention stays on the problem. You complain, replay the event, and feed your frustration. The shift happens when you ask, what can I do to improve this? For instance, instead of yelling about a messy house, create a system where everyone shares chores. Directing energy towards solutions turns anger into progress. 7. Practice gratitude daily. It is almost impossible to stay angry while being genuinely grateful. Gratitude shifts focus from what's missing to what's present. Each evening, write down 3 things you appreciate: a supportive friend, a meal you enjoyed, or simply the fact you're alive today. This habit rewires your brain, making anger less dominant and peace more natural. 8. Use mindfulness and meditation. Mindfulness teaches you to observe emotions without becoming them. When anger arises, instead of saying, I am angry, you learn to say, I notice anger is here. Meditation, even just 10 minutes daily, strengthens this awareness. It trains your brain to stay calm under pressure. Over time, anger loses its grip because you stop fueling it with attention. 9. Surround yourself with positive influences. Your environment shapes your emotional state. If you constantly interact with negative, angry people, their energy becomes contagious. On the other hand, spending time with calm, supportive individuals raises your own resilience. Seek friendships, communities, and content that uplift you. Positive influences don't eliminate triggers, but they strengthen your ability to handle them wisely. 10. Discipline the mind, reclaim peace. Ultimately, anger management is not a one-time fix. It is the discipline of training your mind daily. Each pause, each moment of gratitude, each clear boundary is like a workout for your emotional muscles. Over time, these small practices accumulate into lasting change. You no longer react blindly. You respond with clarity. You no longer feel controlled. You take back your peace. Mastering anger is not about suppressing it, but transforming it. With these 10 steps, you move from being a victim of your emotions to becoming their master. Peace is not a distant dream. It is a daily practice. By now, it's clear that anger is not some unstoppable force that controls your life. It is a signal, a habit, and most importantly, a choice. The journey of mastering anger offers several timeless lessons that anyone can apply. Lesson 1. Anger doesn't control you. You control it. The most liberating realization is that anger is not something others create inside you. It is something you generate in response to their actions. This means the power lies with you, not them. Once you accept responsibility for your reactions, you reclaim freedom. You no longer need to be a puppet pulled by someone else's strings. Lesson 2. Small pauses can prevent big regrets. How many times have you said something in anger that you later wished you could take back? Often, the damage from anger comes not from the feeling itself, but from the impulsive actions that follow. A simple pause, counting to 5, taking a breath, can make the difference between escalating conflict and keeping harmony. This small act of self-control protects relationships and preserves your dignity. Lesson 3. Emotional awareness equals emotional intelligence. Anger often hides deeper feelings: hurt, fear, shame, or disappointment. By looking beneath the surface, you not only manage your anger, but also strengthen your emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence is one of the greatest predictors of success in career, relationships, and personal well-being. The ability to recognize, name, and understand emotions transforms anger from an enemy into a teacher. Lesson 4. Gratitude and mindfulness rewire your brain. Science shows that gratitude practices reduce stress hormones, while mindfulness strengthens areas of the brain linked to calmness and self-regulation. In practice, this means that by regularly giving thanks and observing your thoughts without judgment, you literally reshape how your brain responds to triggers. Instead of instantly exploding, your mind begins to respond with balance and perspective. Lesson 5. Peace is a skill you can train daily. Peace is not something you stumble upon when life is perfect. It is something you cultivate by training your mind. Every day offers chances to practice, whether it's pausing before reacting, setting boundaries, or focusing on solutions instead of problems. Over time, these small practices become second nature. Just as athletes build strength through repetition, you can build inner peace through daily training. Taken together, these lessons remind us that anger is not destiny. It is a challenge that can be mastered with awareness, practice, and discipline. Each moment you choose peace over rage, you are not only protecting your relationships, you are also shaping the person you become. Anger is not just an emotional inconvenience. It is a serious threat to your overall well-being. Modern science has confirmed what ancient wisdom always suggested. Unresolved anger damages not only the mind, but also the body. Chronic anger increases the risk of heart disease, raises blood pressure, and weakens the immune system. Over time, it can shorten lifespan and diminish quality of life. In other words, losing control of your temper isn't just about hurting feelings. It's about hurting your health. Research continues to reinforce this truth. A Harvard study found that practicing mindfulness can reduce stress by 43%, while significantly improving social relationships. When individuals learn to pause, breathe, and respond with awareness instead of reacting with rage, they report deeper connections and fewer conflicts at home and work. Meanwhile, Stanford research demonstrated that keeping a gratitude journal for just 3 weeks increased happiness levels by 25%. Gratitude shifts the focus away from what frustrates you to what enriches your life, rewiring the brain to respond with calmness rather than hostility. The wider implication is clear. Mastering anger is not merely about personal self-control. It is about raising the standard of your entire life. Imagine how different workplaces would feel if leaders responded with patience instead of explosions. Consider how families would thrive if arguments were met with understanding rather than shouting. Communities built on calmness and compassion, instead of hostility and reactivity, would be stronger, safer, and far more fulfilling. It's also important to see anger management as a social responsibility. Every time you choose to pause, to let go, or to shift your focus to gratitude, you are not only protecting yourself, you are protecting the people around you. Your children learn emotional resilience by watching you. Your colleagues are influenced by your calm leadership. Your relationships deepen because trust replaces fear. So the wider message is this: controlling anger is not suppression, it is transformation. It's about reclaiming your freedom from emotional slavery and choosing responses that create peace, health, and stronger bonds. Ask yourself this: if no one could steal your inner peace, how would your life change? The answer to that question is the reason why mastering anger is one of the most powerful investments you can ever make in yourself. Let's bring everything together. Staying calm does not mean you are weak. In fact, calmness is the highest form of strength. Anyone can explode in anger. It takes no effort and no discipline. But choosing patience, reflection, and self-control requires maturity and courage. That is why mastering your anger is one of the most powerful skills you can ever learn. The truth is, you do not need to master all 10 steps at once. Change begins with small, consistent actions. My advice is simple. Choose just one step from the 10 strategies we discussed today and practice it this week. It could be pausing before you react, practicing gratitude, or building emotional awareness. Focus on one skill until it feels natural, and then move on to the next. Over time, these small steps will accumulate into lasting transformation. Here's a concrete action you can take right now. Grab a notebook or your phone and write down one situation that usually triggers your anger. It might be traffic, criticism from a colleague, or conflicts at home. Next to it, write the words "pause" before react. Commit to applying this strategy the next time that trigger appears. By doing this, you are training your brain to interrupt the automatic cycle of anger and replace it with conscious choice. Remember, peace is not something you wait to find in the world. It is something you cultivate inside yourself. Each time you manage your anger, you are not suppressing emotion. You are redirecting energy toward clarity, resilience, and growth. Let me leave you with this thought. Peace is power. Master your anger, and you master your life.